is actually here. It doesn't feel real.
Oh my god, I know. I'm 10 years, Rob.
I know, and we're going to have a bunch of videos coming up about it, naturally. The first of which is a video we're making in response to all the questions we always get on Twitter and social media, and it is 5 things you should know about Final Fantasy 15 if this is your first Final Fantasy.
Yeah, we get asked all the time, this is going to be my first one, what do I need to know? Can I play them all? And your first bit answers that, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first point we're going to make is this is a self-contained story. Yes. Like all main entry single-player Final Fantasies, this is a self-contained story. You do not have to have played any other Final Fantasy game to understand the story of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
It's its own world, it has its own characters, not linked to any other entry in the series.
Yeah.
You can play it, and we're having a brief look at some of the characters here. This is Noctis with the dark hair.
Yep.
Prompto with the blonde hair.
He's
Am
adorable.
I getting this right?
You are. I'm really right? You've basically gone on blackout, haven't you?
Yeah.
I've been the one that's been sacrificed.
I'm starting the game tonight, and you've already played a fair bit of it.
Yes.
Gladiolus.
Yes. Gladiolus, but everyone just calls him Gladio.
And he's Noctis's bodyguard.
Yes.
And our last character, well, we're just seeing more of Gladiolus kicking some ass.
He's beefcake.
And Ignis,
my
favourite, is the final character.
He's my favourite.
And so the story of 15 is you are on a road trip with these 4 guys.
Yep.
Claiming back your throne, your stolen throne, because Noctis is the prince of this kingdom. So that's a very brief overview of the story of Final Fantasy 15. But as we said, it's a self-contained story. You do not need to know anything about any other Final Fantasy game to enjoy Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there are things in 15, obviously, that long-time fans of the series will appreciate.
Yeah, so don't worry if it's your first time. You can pick this up, you can enjoy it, and join the Final Fantasy fans.
Our second point, Holly, is about the combat. Because quite often, many people, like Dave and Nathan, actually, when I always try and get Dave to play Final Fantasy 7, it's like, oh, I can't. Why is it? I don't understand the combat's turn. Blah, 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 blah. Combat in Final Fantasy 15 is real-time. Properly real-time for the first time in the series.
14.
14, yeah, but it's still very much linked to a turn-based system in 14.
For the first time ever, the single-player story Final Fantasy games are now completely action.
We've had elements before, like in Final Fantasy 12, it was almost like an MMO in Final Fantasy 12. Very similar to 14's combat, where you're fighting sort of in real time, but there's still quite a lot of turn-based elements to it. Whereas this is just completely real time now.
Yeah, and this is actually me playing. So this is preview code. It's not the final game.
Yes.
But this is actually me playing now, and this is me trying to make things look cool. I sent Rob loads of capture, and I'm just like, here's a cool bit, Rob. Put the cool bit in.
You did lots of cool bits. I mean, the good thing about Final Fantasy 15's combat is that all the time there are cool bits.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is the first time...
Boosh, Link Strike.
The first time Final Fantasy fans are going to have their dexterity really tested, like timing a parry just right to block an attack. That's something Final Fantasy fans have not had to do before.
Nope.
And if you are a long-time fan of the series and are worried that this has gone kind of too hack and slashy, I don't think you need to be worried either, because there are, despite it being real time, it's still very tactical. It still feels like an RPG combat system, would you say? Yeah,
I promise you, if you think this is just going to be hold down the attack button and you'll survive, you're really wrong. It really does have a lot to think about. In fact, I think me and you might do a whole video just on combat so that we can really get into it. So if you want to know a bit more about the combat, check out another video. It'll be coming up soon, because we go in properly in depth.
Yeah, because it's one of the biggest shake-ups in Final Fantasy 15 is the combat. And here we're seeing a little bit of magic. Oh man, I love the magic in this game.
Now, the best part is if you let off a thunder and you let it off too close to the guys, they end up on the floor twitching because you've paralyzed them and you've just got prompted. They'd be like...
It's more realistic that way, isn't it? Quite often you'd summon like a massive spell that would destroy the battlefield, and all your guys would just be standing there like nothing had happened. But this time, if you throw an ice spell, everyone is getting ice.
They get a bit frosty, and yeah, if they get too close to the fire or thunder spells, they come out covered in soot as well, which is really, really cute.
Would you liken the combat to any other game you've played? I mean, from looking at it here, it's comparison to Kingdom Hearts. Could you make that comparison?
You know what?
Still feel different to that?
If you're a Final Fantasy fan and you've played Kingdom Hearts, you'll feel comfortable saying Kingdom Hearts. I would probably, I've said it in the past, Kingdom Hearts, but very, very mature. Okay. In the sense that it's got a lot more weight behind it. Yeah. Not that Kingdom Hearts battle system isn't wonderful, it's super fun, but I found this to be the next level.
I can't wait to get into it.
Look, there he is all soot up.
Yeah, he's on fire. Shouldn't have used that fire spell.
Sorry.
Point number 3, it's open world. Again, this is a really new thing for Final Fantasy. We've had world maps before, which are like mini-map sized, not to scale things you can travel across. But this time, look at it. You've done a really good job of this shot here.
What you didn't see is I captured this and I sent all the capture back to Rob, who's done the edit. And on the little list, it just said, E3 style panoramic, V pretty.
Yeah, V pretty. VV pretty. And this is, we're just having a brief look of the world map here.
Yeah.
And you're taking us through all the different regions just to give everyone a kind of sense of the scale of the place. That's Insomnia, I'm guessing, the big city you saw.
That's the crown city Insomnia. That's where we've come from.
Where no one ever sleeps.
Actually, where we are in some of the capture you're seeing right now is Dusky, which, if anybody played the demo episode Dusky,
yep.
It's basically you go back, but now we're seeing it in like full pretty.
I mean, it looks massive. It looks absolutely massive. How does it work though, Holly? Is it one seamless? Are we talking Skyrim here? Just one seamless world map, or are we thinking more like The Witcher 3, where there are separate kind of hub areas, like you've got your Velen, you've got your Skellig Isles? How does it work together?
So far, where I am in the game, it's been really seamless. I can literally get on a chocobo and ride from one end to the other if I want to.
Yeah.
It is enormous though. And filled with a little mini game. So I was roaming around Dusky and I found this place and they wanted a certain type of fish. I thought, hey,
this is a great thing
just
about
stop
open
and do
worlds,
some
isn't it?
fishing.
That you can just, whenever you want, just
Barramundi.
get distracted.
Yep.
And we're going to have a look at the regalia now, because this is one of my favourite bits of the game. This is your main method of transport around the world.
Yes.
If you want to properly explore the nitty-gritty, you need to get out and do it on foot. But to get from A to B as fast as possible, you'll do it in the regalia.
You do it in the regalia with your favourite Final Fantasy soundtrack playing,
man.
with the top down and the sun out, listening to a Choco Bros.
Choco Bros.
Just have a little bit of banter. You can drive yourself. It's a slightly on-rails driving experience, but you can still drive yourself if you want to. I tend to just let Ignis drive because it's just easier.
I would.
And it's pretty, and I can just spend all my time scrolling through to find music that I really want to listen to.
I would definitely do that. I mean, this is going to be a massive thing that I spend loads of time doing in Final Fantasy 15. I think it's just listening to old tunes while watching the scenery just drift by.
I normally have Final Fantasy 8 on, otherwise Spira Unplugged on Final Fantasy 10, and you can buy the soundtracks as well from the shop. So it's always worth going to new towns and new little places to look at the shop. So that's what you really have to travel around. Yes, I stuck a giant cactuar on the side of it.
I was going to say, that's some good customizing there.
Thank you. I thought it was classy.
Very classy indeed. Man, I just love this. I can't wait to just...
Like, even now he's indicating to pull in.
Very good driving, Ignis.
Now, here, this is me playing again. I've turned the HUD off. You can do it in settings, because I really wanted you to understand how pretty this was. So I've turned the HUD off here just so you can get a real scope of
So
this
this
place.
is... We're in a town now.
We're in one of the cities. This is just on the outskirts of Dusky.
So seamlessly, we've gone from the open world and now we're in a town, exploring it on foot.
Yeah.
And this is, especially with 13 as well, because 13 didn't have any real towns you could explore in it.
No, it didn't.
And
Not in that sense.
You kind of just went through the game, through the story. And I like the fact that I can take my time rummaging around towns, just like you could in classic old Final Fantasy games.
That's what it's all about. So it's actually quite big. There's quite a lot of different people to talk to, but it just felt really different.
Man,
Beautiful.
I cannot wait to explore it. I cannot wait. So we mentioned earlier, this is point 4, that there are kind of running themes in the Final Fantasy series that fans will really appreciate. And if Final Fantasy 15 is your first Final Fantasy, we're just going to explain a couple of them for you now. This is a chocobo, or a chocobo, however you want to pronounce it.
Chocobo.
Chocobo, I pronounce it chocobo.
I'm terrible. I switch between. I normally say chocobo, which I think was a bad habit from 14, actually. They swim, Rob.
They swim. First time chocobos have ever swam. Or they swam, didn't they, before I'm sure in Final Fantasy 9 they swam. Or in 7 you could at least get a chocobo that could walk across water. But
this is stunning.
I can't wait. I mean, we got the regalia. You can also traverse the world on the back of a chocobo, which has got to be amazing.
If you press like L2 when they're running, that's how you power slide. That's how you drift.
Amazing.
Which is really cool. But basically, a chocobo is a horse in the world of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
That's how, if you're new to Final Fantasy, think of them like horses. That'll really help you.
A horse shaped like a big chicken. And here you are customizing your regalia with a cactuar. A cactuar is a recurring enemy character. Has a 1,000 needles attack. If you get a jumbo cactuar, they do 10,000 needles, and you're dead.
These are literally my favorite creature minion thingy in Final Fantasy. I love cactuars.
And you get summons as well. A brief look at some of the summons here. these are creatures, godlike creatures you can summon to do massive damage in battle, and just look at them, for goodness sake, this looks amazing.
Yeah, so they're in every Final Fantasy game, but they always look a bit different. So this is Titan, Ramu, and Leviathan. They're always different in every game.
I cannot wait to see what summons are going to be in it later on. It's going to be unbelievably good. And finally, Holly, point number 5. If this is your first Final Fantasy game and you're used to RPGs like The Witcher, Skyrim, Mass Effect, and you've not played too many JRPGs, this is going to be unlike any game you've played, really.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mashup of those two worlds. This, for me, is one of the greatest examples of JRPGs and then action or Western RPGs like The Witcher coming together to create something that feels like Final Fantasy. And that was always a big fear. And when I've been playing this, I'm definitely playing a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, it's hard to articulate, isn't it, what makes a JRPG? And for fans of JRPGs, it's often the story, that sense you're on an adventure with a band of characters you really care about, and it's kind of fused with Western RPG elements like having a big open world you can explore, that kind of thing. So it's a really unique game.
It really, really is. I mean, even now, like, Prompto takes pictures, and I've even got his special, his limit break is literally take pictures for me in battle, and you can save your best ones. And JRPGs have always been really good at making you feel about your characters.
Yeah.
And that's what it's done here.
Well, there are 5 things about Final Fantasy 15 that you should know if this is your first Final Fantasy.
Yep.
If it is your first Final Fantasy, you're planning on picking it up, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us know how you get on with the game. Feel free to tweet us with any questions you have about Final Fantasy 15, because we love talking Final Fantasy, as you can probably tell.
Me and Rob can do this for hours.
Please stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, as we're going to have loads more videos about Final Fantasy 15 coming up. We mentioned the combat one. We're going to have a couple of